Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us at this first NeurIPS workshop on pre-registration in machine learning. My name is Luca, and I have co-organized this workshop together with Joao, Samuel, Michaela, and Go. Thanks also to the many reviewers who helped us. It was kind of a tricky and unusual format to work with, but things went pretty smoothly. So yeah, thanks so much. Also, many thanks to all the speakers presenting today and to all the authors who contributed. Let's start with the reasons that motivated us to propose this workshop. So in machine learning, we know that achieving high performance in standard benchmark has become more and more important with the years, especially in areas such as computer vision and NLP. This has surely stimulated a very healthy competition and moved the field forward in a sense. But on the other hand, achieving state-of-the-art results has become a bit of an obsession for us. So if benchmark results become the main objective, then we are running a few risks. One is that we are overlooking interesting questions that don't lead to empirical advantages. And also the other problem is that in order to be competitive, it becomes almost an imperative to combine different technical improvements together and perhaps only maybe highlight those that fit the paper narrative. This is actually not just a problem of benchmark motivated papers. In general, glorifying the empirical results in the author's reviewers dynamic might lead to publication and confirmation bias that are hard to spot for both authors and reviewers. So let's come to the second point. The second motivation is the big influence of hidden computation, with which I mean the undisclosed amount of compute that is involved over the lifetime of a project, from ideation to publication. So being allowed to not disclose the computation can actually weaken statistical results. And a couple of examples are, I can run experiments or 5 or 10 benchmarks and then report results only on the 3 best. Or I can search over several different configuration and variation of idea and then report only those that work. Moreover, in the current publication paradigm, where achieving impressive results is paramount, having more compute is a huge advantage, of course. And this is obvious simply because if I can try more hyperparameters and configuration, then I have much higher chances of finding something very impressive. And this, in a certain sense, widens the gap between rich and not so rich institutions, and is causing universities to struggle more and more to compete against large corporations who have at their disposal huge cluster. Finally, even the best designed experiment can actually provide inconclusive results, and it's no one's fault. For instance, we might be observing a phenomenon with a very high variance, and that's interesting in its own self. And at the present moment, with the current publication paradigm, there is very little incentive to submit those results because they will likely not be accepted for publication. However, they can still convey useful information for the community. For once, because they save us a lot, like work of doing or duplicating the study. They can save us time, money, and compute, and hence CO2. Also, this can provide insight on the nature of the phenomenon. So it's actually interesting to know that certain phenomenon has high variance. So considering all these issues, we got interested in preregistration because it is a publication model that does not revolve, is not obsessed about results. The way it works is very simple, actually. So first, the authors submit a proposal, which is similar to a normal paper, but instead of a section with experimental results, as usual, it contains an experimental protocol, which is a set of the description of a set of experiments that once they are done, they should be able to provide with a reasonable degree of confidence whether the hypotheses present in the rest of the paper are validated or not. So this proposal then is accepted or rejected, and if it's accepted, the authors can run their experiment. Then usually there is a second phase of peer review, but it only works as a sanity check to actually verify that the authors follow the protocol. So it's very important to note that pre-registration is helpful because it can, in a sense, put the authors in a mindset that facilitates design of experiments allowing proper hypothesis testing. And this happens by enforcing, by design, a clear cut between prediction and post-diction. Actually, let me say there is nothing wrong with post-diction per se, and is actually at the basis of exploratory analysis. But what's important to avoid is to confound the two and presenting post-diction as it was instead prediction. So otherwise, one can legitimately confound the two and try many things, proceeding by trial and error, and then retrofit the paper narrative to the one thing that works. And this sometimes is referred as harking, hypothesizing as after results are known. So the preregistration protocol is gaining quite a lot of traction in many other fields. Most importantly, in medicine, it became mandatory. In the Declaration of Helsinki, now it explicitly says that every clinical human trial must be registered in a publicly accessible database before even recruiting the first subject. In psychology, after there has been a quite high-profile replication crisis, there is being a shift to registration. And actually, on the Center of Open Science website, there are listed many different journals which are trialing with pre-registration. Now, a couple of caveats on what we consider the pre-registration is not, at least in our field. It's not a way to claim ownership of an idea without doing the experiments, because the proposal needs to be accepted first before the experiments are conducted. So we don't want to be a way to do many flag planting. It's also not a way to guarantee the publication of far-fetched ideas, because reviewers must still believe that a conclusive result is plausible, given the experimental protocol proposed. Also, it's not suitable for all kinds of papers. The traditional process is surely better for iterating between induction and deduction and for exploratory analysis. It also is not, this is a kind of a delicate one, but it's not a place to easily publish all the ideas that didn't work. And even if this is very hard to police, it would be kind of unethical for researchers to just do experiments and then pretend that these haven't been done and submit a registration. So a couple of words on how we implemented this in a workshop. So we had quite a nice success. For the first edition, we had 73 valid submissions. We accepted 38, and 8 are going to be presented as orals, and the other as posters. The authors had 8 weeks to submit a pre-registration proposal of up to 5 pages, and we had 2 rounds of double-blind reviews with rebuttal, with 2 reviewers per paper. Then today, the authors are going to present their proposal, not the experiments, because there was not enough time for that. The timeline of NeurIPS workshop this year was quite fast. The deadline for experimental phase is going to be at the end of April. And then final papers, so the pre-registration and the experimental report, will be published as a PMLR issue. Then in May, we will also try to host an extra session to discuss everything that happened and the experimental findings. Okay, so this is the program for today. We're running in Eastern time, so this is what this timeline reflects. So I'm finishing the opening remarks. We're going to have 5 keynote speakers, interleave with 2 oral sessions with 4 papers each. We're also going to have a poster session on GatherTown and an open discussion at the end. A couple of PSA before concluding. So most sessions, as you will notice, are streamed with the pre-recorded talk, except this one, which is live. At the end of the talk, there will be Q&A with the speaker live. Questions can be asked on Rocket Chat, and then we will read them out loud to the speakers. And an important thing to notice is that there is a delay between the time inside Zoom and outside of Zoom. So please, if you can, just write down the question as soon as you have them, so that we have a bit of buffer and we can read the question at the end properly. Also, if you wish to speak in person, you can do so. You can just join Zoom, raise your hand, and we will promote you as a speaker, so that you can interact live. A couple of more things. There are 2 oral sessions of contributed papers in which videos are 5 minutes each. So we are going to do all 4 videos together and then have a 10 minutes Q&A at the end. Importantly, if you are an author of this session, please join the Zoom link so that you can answer live to potential questions. As I say, the poster session is on GatherTown. You can follow the link on the NeurIPS CC page, so where the workshop is. And no password is needed because you can use the NeurIPS single sign-on. The session of the poster starts officially at 11 Eastern, And officially start lasts for 1 hour, and there is then after a long break, but you can also hang out in the post room, no problem. And finally, there is a final open discussion, and same deal, please post your question in Rocket Chat, or you can join Zoom and raise your hand. Also, if you want to suggest any question for the final discussion throughout the day, please write them on Rocket Chat and maybe flag them as discussion or something like that, so we can collect them. Okay, that was all. Thank you very much for participating to this and for your attention. And I can take any question if you want. Otherwise, yeah, in any case, welcome. I hope you are having a great day.